Although the MLB loves promoting the fact that it is home to some of the greatest rivalries in sports history, it seems that what they desperately want to keep hidden is that some of the most heated rivalries just so happen to take place within the same team. So even though the case between Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon may be the most famous instance of MLB infighting, most fans just don't know how insane the saga was, as not only did it end with an incredibly violent incident in the middle of the game in a dugout, but the backstory is equally ridiculous. As in 2015, Bryce Harper was a 22-year-old phenom who had just emerged as one of the world's best and most exciting players with a badass personality. Jonathan Papelbon, on the other hand, was the complete opposite in every way, as when he and Harper were teammates, he was an overpaid 34-year-old relief pitcher who was nearing the end of his long career filled with controversial behavior, to put it nicely, given that this point was just 1 year removed from when he blew a game for his team.
Ball the dude! Here comes Yelich, and he's gonna score!
Got booed off the field. Inappropriately touched himself in retaliation to the fans.
Papelbon's response to being booed by the home crowd? The old crotch grab.
Got physical with an official, thrown out of the game, and banned for 7 games. This is barely scratching the tip of the iceberg, so it's truly no mystery that these personalities wouldn't get along very well, with the first signs of this being when Harper had this to say in a post-game interview after the old head purposely drilled Manny Machado up and around the head with a fastball.
You surprised when Papelbon gets ejected there?
I mean, Manny freaking hit a homer, walked it off, and, somebody drilled him. I mean, it's pretty tired. So, it's one of those situations where, it happens, and I don't know, I'll probably get drilled tomorrow, so we'll see what happens.
Airing him out publicly and calling his tactics tired was just a glimpse into the window of their hatred for each other, and the team couldn't keep it under wraps for much longer. The next time the public got to see these two cross paths, it got very ugly very quickly.
Round 1, fight.
See Papelbon saying run the ball out. And Bryce saying you got to
Finish him.
And then Papelbon went right after Harper. It's getting ugly, folks. There's no other way to put it.
Somehow even more mind-blowing than the actual incident itself, it turns out Papelbon did this as a form of retaliation to Harper not running as hard as he could to first after popping out. And even more mind-blowing than all of that combined, people around baseball generally had mixed opinions. Of course there were fans that denounced Papelbon, saying things like, "I'm so sick of this Harper-Papelbon debate. Harper is a world-class athlete and the heart and soul of that team. Papelbon is a punk." But there was a surprising amount of people who thought along the lines of, "Finally watch the Papelbon-Harper scuffle. I'm with Papelbon. Run it out and be a pro." With the popular commentator Don Cherry coming out and saying, "How anybody could blame Papelbon for confronting Harper boggles the mind. Alright, Papelbon shouldn't have done what he did to Harper on the bench. He should have waited for him in the tunnel and choked him there." It would seem that the situation with these two players wouldn't get any better from here on out, as Papelbon later expressed to the media he didn't see Harper as a huge leader and described him as more of a me guy or an I guy.
When I was 23, 25, I got my ass kicked way more than that. I'm just gonna tell you, borderline, I would say. And it was something that I cherished, actually.
What?
And I wanted to go there every day and kick some ass. And for me, there was only one way, man. There's Red Bulls and Adderall and whatever coffee it took. I was getting jacked up every night, man, to go kick somebody's ass.
And after you hear what his pregame routine was, you'll get a better understanding of what being his teammate would have been like.
For me, I had a way to get ready for the game every day. That involved, coffee, uppers, and a couple shots of Jaeger every night.
In 2024, Harper is now carrying his team to World Series contention every year, and Papelbon is attacking players on Twitter from his couch. All in all, this feud is pretty unhinged. However, the next feud dwarfs it entirely, as an entire team turned on a player's 11-year-old son so brutally, it caused him to forfeit $13 million in salary, even leaving his teammates looking back on the event thinking about just how nuts the Drake LaRoche saga really was. In 2015, the Chicago White Sox signed the league veteran Adam LaRoche, stating that the reason why they went after him in the first place is because of his clubhouse presence.
We're hearing 2 years and $25 million for LaRoche. who just turned 35 years old. I would think that the White Sox have to be pretty pleased with this deal right now.
When the Sox approached him about signing a contract ahead of the 2015 season, he made it very clear that it was a two-player deal. If his son couldn't join him, LaRoche would find another team. He wanted to teach his son lessons of failure, success, and hard work that he couldn't get anywhere else.
The privilege to have my son with me during the season. He gets to grow up in this, and he gets to hopefully learn from me in my screw-ups and good decisions.
On the field, Adam LaRoche underperformed in his first year with the team, but because of his upstanding character, it didn't matter to his teammates or the fans, and he became an immediate fan favorite upon his arrival, until he wasn't.
A juicy baseball scandal has probably crept up in ESPN SportsCenter in regards to Adam LaRoche retiring from baseball.
Adam LaRoche is walking away from what was likely the final year of his career and the $13 million left on his contract.
Adam LaRoche put family first and in the process walked away from millions of dollars.
Mostly because the Chicago White Sox refused to let his son in the locker room regularly.
On a tragic spring day, pretty much every media outlet reported the scoop that the White Sox front office fed to the media. LaRoche's teammates had secretly turned on him and his son and no longer wanted them around. They were all wrong. You see, 20 minutes after the team president Kenny Williams had a meeting with him, LaRoche decided upon hearing the news, he should voluntarily give up the remainder of his $26 million contract in sadness and dejection, which is absolutely heartbreaking. But the real dagger comes when the situation gets 20 times worse, as his close teammate Chris Sale had this interview after the team found out LaRoche was quitting baseball for good.
Yeah, well, Kenny said quite a few things. Contradicting statements a couple times. Came to the players, said it was the coaches, went to the coaches, said it was the players, then came in here and told us that it was the owner. So that's why we're still trying to figure out where it all came from. You know, this isn't us rebelling against rules. This is kind of us rebelling against BS. Plain and simple.
So, in a shocking turn of events, according to Chris Sale, not only did none of the players complain, but nobody in the entire organization from top to bottom had claimed responsibility for imposing the new rule, leading us to one unreal conclusion. Kenny Williams used his sociopath powers in a web of lies to manipulate LaRoche into giving up the salary he owed him. As Sale said himself, they got bold-faced lied to, and this lie made the team angry. And of course, by angry, I mean Kenny Williams getting screamed out of the room in a subsequent team meeting, Chris Sale getting suspended for cutting up all of the players' jerseys in a fit of rage with scissors. And it wasn't just Chris Sale. His other teammates attempted to boycott their own games, saying,
"The whole year Drake was around, it was never a problem. He helped out, picked up shoes, balls, you name it. It was never an issue."
And
Adam's the kind of guy I looked up to and admired in every way possible.
Leaving Kenny Williams looking like a complete fool when facing the media himself.
It's not because the young man was a distraction and not because he wasn't well received and well liked by players, management, and everyone else. This is not a problem today, but in management sometimes you gotta make some unpopular decisions.
On the other hand, LaRoche still maintains to this day that he doesn't regret the decision one bit, as he now spends his time operating a charity business from his ranch supporting veterans, and working with law enforcement in sting operations to bust international child trafficking rings.
After last season, he and another player spent time in Southeast Asia, working for a foundation called the Exodus Road, trying to identify and help rescue underage girls who had been kidnapped and were being used as slaves.
I'm not hurting anybody, is what we think. I think we'd be shocked at how many of those girls are victims.
Making the ever-losing White Sox, who, by the way, kept Kenny Williams as the president until last year, out to be an absolute clown show of an organization. And although Mets fans are used to this kind of treatment from their team, none of them were remotely ready to take on the public embarrassment that was the Frankie Lindor and Jeff McNeil feud, where when they got into a physical altercation in the middle of a game, they chose to blame it on maybe the most mind-numbingly stupid excuse imaginable, which all started in a blowout loss to the Chicago Cubs. Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil had a miscommunication in the field that led to the Cubs beating them by 12 runs.
He's gonna fucking praise that! He's gonna have dancing fucking singing tomorrow because they're gonna lose again!
Anyway, Lindor foreshadowed the disastrous incident that would soon follow in his post-game interview when he said,
I personally don't like how I've been playing defense the last couple of days. I have to learn from what's happening, learn from my mistakes. When it comes to everyone else, I hope we all do the same thing.
Which sounds relatively unassuming at first, but as the next week unfolded and the same exact miscommunication happened again between the two, both Lindor and McNeil were visibly infuriated with each other. After the inning ended, TV cameras picked up on their teammates looking concerned in the dugout, running down the hallways to the clubhouse after McNeil and Lindor.
Let's take this into consideration. They're in a baseball stadium with a lot of music, a lot of noise, crowd sounds, ambient noise, and whatever's happening in that tunnel is loud enough that the entire Mets dugout goes to investigate. The first person out of the tunnel is Conforto, and he kind of gives this weird walk like, oh, jeez.
Which, by the way, happened not once, but twice in that same game. Obviously, Mets fans were anxiously waiting for an explanation, and what the team came up with as a cover story in the post-game interview was the craziest part of this entire ordeal.
Hey, Francisco, what exactly happened in the tunnel there?
Steve, it was funny because I told him, I was like, hey, I'd never seen a New York rat, so we went down sprinting. I wanted to go see a New York rat, and he got mad at me. He's like, no, it's not a rat, it's a raccoon. I'm like, hell no, man, it's a damn rat.
Clearly, Lindor was the one who came up with the story, as he was the only one telling it with any type of conviction, especially compared to Jeff McNeil, who was obviously just out there to play along with the narrative.
Said, nice debate about, a rat or a raccoon.
And even less thrilled about the story was their manager, who had one of the funniest reactions in an interview that I can remember to this day.
I think there's a lot of skepticism over the fact that Francisco comes in here and says this whole thing was over a rat and a raccoon. Are you willing to say that this whole thing was over a rat and a raccoon, or was there?
I don't know. I don't know what it was about. When I got down there to the tunnel, and then the only thing I can recall is Francisco telling me that we're playing baseball.
Now, Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil are still teammates who play side by side with each other and haven't had any other public scuffles.
What went into that change back, I guess?
Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. Hey, it's a raccoon. A raccoon.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's question again. Sorry, guys.
With Lindor actually gifting McNeil a car as a friendly gesture to congratulate him for winning a batting title in the following season, meaning they most likely sorted out their issues after this, which is of course a much calmer resolution than that of when a certain player for the Dodgers, who became baseball's biggest attraction on the outside, ended up causing countless fights until he got banished from the major leagues on the inside. Please like this video and subscribe for this and part 2 and much more coming soon. Love, the Base League.